Okay, and welcome to another battle. On this side, as you can see, we've got PrimekThe1st and Keijok. And over this side we are joined once again by UnicornAttack and his friend BrainWar. So off here, as you can see, an immediate push down with BrainWar's Great Guard here to cover the Sword Dojo. And on the side, as you can see, at the moment it's just a general push down of troops, keeping it very safe. Notice on this side that Keijok has some warrior nuns. You don't see many of them anymore, especially on multiplayer. So it's good to see how he uses them out. And see, he's got some Primek's got some bow cavalry down. Cover some of the woodlands here, just do some harassment, especially if he tries to push forward with the Great Guard. The water will slow down the cavalry greatly, so he can do a few casualties in that part. Kind of stand off at the moment, as you can see. They're bringing up the bulk of their range here, some tournamentry cover them as well. Gotta be careful what's happening in these tree lines as well. So yeah, everyone needs to be quite aware of that. You can see on this side, I think it's Primek, yeah. Primek has some of his guns and some UR infantry just behind, hidden in the tree lines here in case they come up from the left hand side flank. On this side, as you can, some cavalry see there just came out of the trees. Keijok would have noticed that now, so he might have to pull some troops across on the side, but he has some archers here not being particularly covered, so if the cavalry does decide to come down, he's going to move these pretty quickly. But as I was saying, over on this side is a BrainWar. And then UnicornAttack, running with his men slightly, just in the radius here to capture the Sword Dojo, so increase their melee. Was also out the range of these archers as well. As you can see now, they're starting to mobilise the cavalry, try and get some little pop shots, but Katana Samurai, they have a fair amount of armour and there's not many arrows coming in from the cavalry unit, so not many casualties will happen. You can see only one died there. So as you can see, Keijok decided to push up here to capture the archery dojo. Be quite careful though, because he did have some cavalry up here, and cavalry charge against sword infantry orders burst reasonably easy. And no Dachi as well, better in melee, though not great armor or defense, so with the charge of the cavalry could do some devastating damage. And you can see some archer arrows coming in from some warrior monks, they're heavily ranked, so I assume they do have the increased range. With the firepower against the bow cavalry here, the bow cavalry can take some pretty big casualties. As you can see here, Primek sending up his fire cavalry, gets some charge upon the swords. Here actually capturing him. He did manage to deny the capture for a brief moment, but as you can see, BrainWar, UnicornAttack, my apologies, they're setting up some Yari just to cover the side as well. So he's protecting himself reasonably here in the battle. As you can see, they are now starting to waver. Over on the side, as you can see, that BrainWar is pulling out his Great Guard very rapidly down upon the left hand side there. Still capturing this side here, but then still going to be kind of careful of the cavalry which is up in the trees. Quite a strong charge. A lot of that momentum will be slowed down by the water, but you're still going to get some ground across. As you can see, Primek has noticed this, now starting to send his Great Guard down, backed up by some more there. BrainWar didn't really want to commit to the river crossing, try to pull back. Don't know if he's trying to lure these guys across the river. If they cross the river to try and chase him, he's got guns, he's got arrows here, so he's still going to do some heavy damage. As you can see there, some arrow fire started happening. The momentum dying down from the cavalry on the water there, BrainWar pulls back his Great Guard into the melee. And as you can see here, Unicorn is now bringing down his Yari Ashigari, my apologies, to try and take down a lot of the cavalry there in the charge. And you see here some arrow fire still happening upon the ridges. BrainWar's Great Guard seems to be suffering quite a bit of morale shock then. As you can see, that Primek decided to go down, so he's got some fire cavalry, not great in prolonged melee, especially against other units. The Primek is now bringing up his second lot of Great Guard to try and hit from the side, trying to give it some extra help. As you can see, the units are starting to waver. The fire cavalry just routed, and so is the other lot of Great Guard. This great card can do some damage. He doesn't. BrainWar doesn't have a lot in his units left. He did take them down quite easily. Though you got to remember that UnicornAttack still does have some cavalry, and as does Keijok. So we need to be ever careful of that. And you can see they are starting to break the rest of their cavalry now. Over on this side, as you see, the archer fire keeps happening, and the Yarashigar unit from UnicornAttack is almost started to break. He's wavering. He does try and pull them back slightly, trying to salvage that unit. And you see, with the cavalry now demolished, Primek has his great guard still, not very numerous, so he can't really commit them to any full charge. Use them later for any back hits or flank tactics. Worth a wait. As you can see on this side, they managed to capture the Sword Dojo. I do believe, yep, they did get. Sorry, I'm stuttering. Alright, Primek and his ally managed to capture the Archery Dojo. As you see now, he's now going down for the farmhouse, which will increase their fatigue and decrease fatigue. No, increase fatigue resistance. So at the moment you can see he's just got some units here hidden in the tree line in case they do try and do a push forward. But as you can see, a lot of Unicorn's men are hidden, so he's going to have some guys in the trees here. Plus he still does have this cavalry up here as well we've got to be careful of. And then as the Keijok, he's still got his great guard, and he's got some Yari cavalry here as well. And march them through the trees trying to keep hidden. As you can see, he's got some warrior monks here mobilizing just to the right hand side. My guess right now is he's going to try and take the Archer Dojo. He's starting to mobilize his cavalry on this side, so they will now notice that he does have his cavalry out. I do believe there's more units in that though, so he's keeping one in there, I believe, for the time being. There you go, he's got some sword infantry up there as well. Pull over his fire cavalry. And that Primek has very little cavalry left, especially with only of his great guard left, only like 7 men left in his unit. They don't have to worry about them too much, but as you can see, he's bringing down his lone sword here. And as you see, Keijok is now bringing up his great guard onto the right hand side to try and counter against that one. And as you can see, he's now got his people hidden in the tree lines there. Almost captured the fatigue on this side. With the farmhouse on their side, they're going to need it, but with the extra melee attack that the enemy have currently, they need to be careful to try and take that one back from them. Oh, bring out his other lot of cavalry now. Warrior monk cav. As you can see, no one's really committing to a full-on push here. I believe Unicorn's more focused on getting rid of some of their advantages they have over them. So as you can see here, that Keijok's now bringing up his archers. Probably do some damage against the lone sword here, coming up to try and take over their dojo. But as you can see, over on this side, UnicornAttack does have some arrows with the rank upon them and their increased range. They're doing a little bit of damage from quite far away. Always useful for them there. As you see, they have now managed to get into the radius of the circle, and they'll slowly take this away from them. And you see Unicorn is now bringing out some of his Yarashigar in case they commit to the charge here with their cavalry, try and stop it. And you see here they're starting to mobilize some archers across here to try and deny UnicornAttack of his attack here. Of his capture, my apologies. Feeling really powerful about there. Since Unicorn has quite a good range, you can still do some damage from these tree lines here. But he has got his archers covering that side there, just in case that does happen. Might be wise to put his lone sword into loose formation here, try and avoid some of the arrows which are coming in upon them. They don't seem to be taking that many casualties at the moment. They've only lost, or they've lost 4 men now. And you can see he's now put them into loose formation to try and avoid some arrow fire. Well, as you can see here in the tree lines, that UnicornAttack is now moving his bow warrior monks out of the trees. And so he's bringing them down here now to shoot across the side here. If they're increased range, they'll be able to do quite well. But you can see some arrows now starting to fire from this unit here. UnicornAttack notices, so he pulls them back slightly more, trying to get out range of them so he can bring them up on this side here. Do some extra damage. Some heavy casualties must have hit these lone sword here because they are now starting to waver. Though he has stopped their control on this side. Actually, no, they're still capturing it, they still hold it. It's very close though. Keijok did a quite good job there of preventing that from happening. He's now putting back his archers, knowing that they have such a range advantage upon them. They don't really want to have them straight down. They've done their job of repelling that though. As you can see here, BrainWar is now heavily mobilising his whole force onto the left hand side there. The lone sword are now starting to come back. With the range support he has here, some cavalry, he's got some Yari Ashigaru there as well. No one commit to a forward charge yet, but with the arrows here, they'll be able to do some heavy damage against their lines. If that needs to be the case, Keijok does have superiority in the fact of numbers of arrows, so if he pushes them up to commit to a charge, well, I say charge to the range of his archers, he can do quite heavy damage there. I can see now that BrainWar's now starting to move his men right down across the river. Some arrows did clip him slightly here from these bow warrior monks. Fire arrows now starting to go in now, do some extra damage against them. As you can see, I did take down a few. I can see some range combat now happening here. Bringing up his Great Guard. So he might have to try and get his Yarashgar and his monk cavalry here into play. But I don't know if it'd be quick enough since you've got the archers up here as well, preventing a lot of it. I do believe that the Great Guard will manage to hit into these lone sword and manage to disperse them. Yarashgar, if he concentrates one of these fires upon them, you could probably rout that unit as well. They are very weak. And as you see, he's also bringing up some more Yarashgar reinforcements, bringing back his archers, so you know he has advantage, so you can keep harassing them. But with the fire is now going against the Yarashgar, you can see here that they are starting to waver pretty heavily. UnicornAttack's now bringing down his monk cavalry, gets two sets of Great Guard. Despite their rank, I don't believe they do that well, but he has dropped the Warcry ability, so their morale will suffer quite heavily in this. Though the strength of the Great Guard and the numbers, it may not pay into much effect. His monk cavalry will more than likely slowly but surely die off here. And you can see a strong archer push on this side here, which managed to repel his archers back furthermore again, but with the increased range, and he still has some units in these trees here, so we've got to be careful of any form of side attack. As you see here that BrainWar had his avatar's bodyguard very highly close, so he's got to be careful of these archers. So if they take down his general, as you can see here, some arrow fires coming, it could do some heavy damage against them. And you can see that Primek has the rest of his Great Guard now, which he's bringing up behind his units. But I don't know if he's going to come through the water, which will yeah, he's going to come through the water there. It will slow down his charge a fair amount. And he's got some Yari hidden trees here, and he's got some guns that's came in there to take down a few of those Great Guard, which has shocked them slightly from the morale. He's now started to pull back his general, he's that a lot quicker. He's only got 3 units left. He doesn't want to risk losing that at this time. Over on this side, I see Keijok has now got some ground on the other side of the river. They've managed to take back this land here. And the harassment of arrows starting to go again. As you can see, the Great Guard starting to charge up here, but UnicornAttack has his Great Guard, and he has his avatar's bodyguard, my general, and some fire cavalry. You need to be careful of those, as you know that fire cavalry are not great in prolonged melee. Plus, he doesn't want to risk losing his avatar at this point of time. Some units starting to waver on this side, as you can see. Over back on this side, BrainWar starting to push out with his range units. BrainWar lost a lot of casualties here. He's going to be careful of his general as well, and has 3 units left. But let's see as he's back on this side. Very dangerous game because the cavalry can come down here as well. But he does have his Yari facing towards in case that is a possibility. Plus they start to do a charge here, and if Primek travels across the water, you've got to be careful of that. Alright. So skirmish fight happening here. Fairly high ranked warrior monks here on BrainWar side, so I wouldn't be surprised if you had the extra range as well. Over side, you can see they had a morale shock again hit onto them. They've been inspired, the fire cavalry, to try and hold a little bit longer into the melee. And it has the Banzai ability acted, which just worn off there. Managed to rout one of the Great Guards, now bring up his Yari Ashigaru to aid in this fight. very weak men. He's only got 2 left of his advertised bodyguards, so he needs to be very careful of that. As you can see, they are starting to waver, and if he's going to rout his advertised bodyguard here, that'd be a heavy morale shock upon his units. So he needs to be very careful of these now. He's got some archers turned around and now starting to fire at the Grey Guard. Plus, as you could know, he's got his Guard pushing up as well. 2 units, yes, I wouldn't be surprised if his general has fallen, but there's no way of knowing for sure. Oh no, it does look like he is still standing. So I think UnicornAttack lucked out there actually. That was pretty good on this side. Over on this side, you see Primek has devoted to quite a heavy push on the left hand side, dividing the forces between the 2 allies. Arrow fire coming here. He's got some Yari samurai as well just behind to defend it. Setting up his guns. Oh, some heavy gunners coming in now. I don't know if they're out of ammo or not, but setting them in like that is quite devastating. The heavy gunners have been patched recently. They have been nerfed, so they're not as great as they once was, but they still do some heavy damage, and with them like that, close to the melee, bringing them up forward, you need to be very careful here. I'm not sure if they're out of ammo at all. I'm not quite sure if they did much damage, but it would have done them quite well. I see the volley ability has been added onto the heavy gunners, which increase their rate of fire dramatically. And you can see on this side now that UnicornAttack has started to mobilise his main bulk of his melee onto the left hand side here to support his ally. Still got his archers and some Yari infantry hidden, well now moving into these trees which seem to be hidden against them. And you can see another set of Yari cavalry now from Keijok coming across onto their side of the river. Some arrow fire come into play here, as you can see that he sent out some Nodachi to try and take this. Probably not very wise. Nodachi had like 2 armor rating, so the arrows will do some heavy damage against them, especially the fire arrows now coming in, as you can see. Some guns starting to fire off here, and he's bringing up his heavy gunners again. I'm kind of curious if they're out of ammo right now. I would not be surprised if they are. As you can see, UnicornAttack's general is still wavering slightly. Suffered some heavy losses into the melee fight which happened a minute ago, so he's got to be careful that not many enemies do get near him. So some whistling arrows have been affecting him now, so their morale will drop slightly. Archers need to be kind of careful of the Yari cavalry that he's got sent up here, but he does have some Yari Ashigaru protecting them, which should do a bit of damage. He's also going to be careful now of his general quite far open, which is very weak, but he does have units hidden into these tree lines here. Primek's pulling back his forces right now. He does seem to have quite a good off range superiority there. Like I said, I'm really curious about the heavy gunners out of ammo or not. I can see Keijok's got his cavalry right up on behind now, so he's going to have to start worrying about this. I see now they have denied their melee advantage, so they're pulling that back now. Could have committed to fully taking it, I'm not quite sure why they haven't, but as you can see, like UnicornAttack's now bringing up his men into the range, into the radius, to start capturing that for himself. Plus, since he's got archers as well, he can do some good damage against these. But as you can see, Keijok still have the number superiority with the range units, so he's got to be careful of that as well. If he decides to push down, he could deny them once again. Oh, heavy cavalry charge coming on this side, right behind BrainWar's avatar. I don't know if he's noticed it yet, but he's just gonna have to pull these back. Oh, a big charge there to take out a lot of his men. A lot for free anyway. Still got his general standing left. One precise he will rout after this. There we go. The general of BrainWar has now broken and decided not to join the fight. Heavy morale shock for these guys. There you go. UnicornAttack does have his general, but he is in melee as well. Doesn't have a very great unit, so he's got to be careful in that fight. But they do manage to rout that Yari cavalry and manage to keep his advertised bodyguard alive. You're going to need this bodyguard now to help this hard push here. I can see a very strong push coming up from the side here, probably just using his heavy gun as a cannon fodder. Some bullets did go off Not quite sure they weren't using them as guns earlier. So heavy melee's happening now, but they are in water, so that slowed down the momentum quite heavy push. And as you can see on this side, that UnicornAttack has to charge up a giant hill, and with the momentum that Keijok is going to get from charging down the hill, the morale bonus will be in their favour here. The morale bonus, the charge bonus, my apologies. As you can see here, with his general gone, his men are starting to waver and rally. He's still got some guys holding on here. Some of his counter now starting to waver. He's got some reinforcements coming here from UnicornAttack, though not heavy, because UnicornAttack has to be diverted into this push here. Though he still does have his general, very luckily enough, with only 2 units left. So he's got to be careful of that. Then now with some gunfire coming to the back here, and he's starting to waver some of his units. UnicornAttack does seem to be in an okay position right now. He's got to be careful. As well as he's got some arrows coming, he's now using his archers as melee, more than likely out of ammo, so he's going to have to push up here. If UnicornAttack manages to pull through this, he's got to think about Primek at this time, with his ally BrainWar pretty much out of the game now. I see Keijok is he's now pretty out of the game as well, so it's still fairly equal. Primek's got to march quite a few bit of river and up a slight hill to get it. I can see he's now putting back his advertised bodyguard here. Doesn't want to get them into any form of melee, especially after seeing what happened to BrainWar up on the side there. Still got a unit still holding on there. And they'll delay some of his men coming up forward, try to get into melee with the archers with the guns, try and take down their advantage there. I can see they've managed to cross the hill now, suffering some minor fatigue. So they've got to be careful of that. Luckily here, as you can see, Primek, they did manage to capture the farmhouse, which will decrease their fatigue. So they are still okay for fighting. Yeah, they won't be surprised if they are slightly winded into the battle. You can see here Keijok's now pretty much wiped out. The only force he has left is advertised bodyguard, but he can use that still to boost the morale of Primek's men. Sending his advertised bodyguard now into the gunners, it seems like. Yes, collided into the gunners there. Gotta do some heavy casualties upon them side. They still have some heavy momentum, even charging through the forest areas, quite dense. After that battle marching up, he's got some pretty strong fatigue penalty against him now. I can see UnicornAttack trying to pull up his advertised bodyguard out of the way of this arrow fire, because if he loses that, his units will not be able to do hardly anything in this battle. But I can see he devoted quite some time here to charge and pursue away the advertised bodyguard of Primek. Although with that gone, Primek still will have his allies' advertised bodyguard in close proximity of his men, so he's still helping out with the morale on that side. Still managed to keep his avatar alive here, which is a very good play from UnicornAttack to try and keep them standing for that long. Trying to push up quite far up on this hill, it appears. I'm not quite sure what they're doing. They can get hit from a few sides here. If that bodyguard general here decides to do any form of melee, you can still do some damage against the guns. As you can see, the archers there are still going. UnicornAttack is trying to pursue the advertised bodyguard of Keijok there, though without fatigue penalty against them and marching up this hill, and since these guys are horseback and they're just infantry, they are not going to do very well at all. But he's bringing back his advertised bodyguard now into a charge with the downhill momentum, and with the heavy fatigue penalty there on one of his samurai units, archers are starting to waver now after that charge. There's some guns now starting to fire to try and take down some of their men, but he's got to be careful. As you can see here, that Primek's avatar is now starting to come in from the side for a charge. Units on to wave here now. He's now knowing he can push up that big hill with the reinforcements popped up here, so he's now going to try and fall back slightly. Maybe try and capture their general here to break them, but as you can see, Keijok's avatar hit from the side there, which now started to demoralise their archers, and again just routed a few of the units now. Now with heavy fatigue, the loss of their units and other men now retreating, the fatigue of Unicorn's men are now starting to go down a lot quicker. As you can see now, starting off a slight mass rout. So everyone's now starting to waver. He's gonna, I don't know what's happened to his bodyguard. By the looks of it, his bodyguard has actually just been chased off the battlefield, and that appears to be game. Good play from both of them. Primek did quite well with his manoeuvrability down there. Thank you for watching.